Okay, supposing you have AMF PHP all set up on your computer, then we're ready to actually use that in a Flex project. So I'm going to start out here and make a new Flex project from scratch. We're going to call this AMF Connect, and we've got a server type of PHP, and this is my web root. That's where Apache runs from. This is how I would browse to that folder. And I don't want to create it under the default. For organizational purposes, I put all my Flex projects in here. So I'm going to make a new folder for this. Call this AMF Connect. So this is where everything will get published to. And say OK, and then finish. I don't want to switch perspectives because that wouldn't fit on this screen. Okay, so we've got this set up. And the first thing we want to do is create a remote object. So remote object, and we need to add a couple of attributes here. So let's see, what's the first one? We need an ID for it. So I always use AMF because it's descriptive and short. And we need a source, and we'll write that in later, and a destination. That's going to be AMF PHP, and I'll go over why the destination is AMF PHP a little bit later. So the source is going to be the service that we're going to call to, a PHP file. And let's see, let's tab over here. Here we're in our web root. I'm going to go into AMF PHP and services, and I've already started, I wrote the service. So I'm in this AMF connection. And here's the connect.php file, and that's open in Dreamweaver. So it's pretty simple, just PHP class here, and the class is called connect, and it has a method called testConnection, which returns a value of Tron lives. Okay, so we want to call this. Let's go back over here to Eclipse, and so our source is it's going to be that folder. AMF connection. Let me copy that. Avoid any typos, any possibility of typos, and connect. Just copy that there. And so that's the source of this remote object. So if there was another class that, another service that I wanted to connect to, I would make another remote object. And in that case, I'd probably need to change the ID to something more descriptive for each of these. Okay, and now we need to add a method for this. So we'll say method, and the name is, let's go back over here, copy this. So this is the name of the method, and let me make sure this all fits. So the result is going to be where this data is returned to. And so let's go make that right now. So we're going to say script, and we're going to make a new method here. So private function on, we'll call it onConnect. And we get a result, result event, and always use code completion to get your imports. Void. Okay, so we've got a little method here called onConnect, and once again I'm going to copy this and paste it, and event. Okay, so what we're going to do here is when we run this application, we'll call this method, and the data will be returned there. So let's go ahead and test this. Saving, and you can see there's no problems. Publish, Flex, OK, and launching AMF Connect. Well, this is taking, okay, there we go. So it launches, and we get a big fat nada. Nothing happened. And that's because we didn't actually call the onConnect method. So to do that, we need to call that. So let's see, creation complete, init, And so we want to call the remote object is AMF. The name that we're calling, or the method that we're calling by name, is the test connection. So copy. We don't get code complete on the name of the method, so we have to type that in. And we want to send. And so that's it. So now, when we run this, creation complete is going to get called. This method will be called, and we should get some data back to onConnect. So let's save it. No problems. Publish. And oh, we get an error. Destination does not exist, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was expecting that because there's a few setup things that we haven't done yet. So first off, FlexBuilder knows nothing at all about AMF PHP or any of that. We need to describe what this stuff is to FlexBuilder. So what we need is the services config file. So I'm just going to copy it from another project. Copy. And bring you back up here and AMF Connect, paste it. Blah, blah, blah. And let's open this up and take a look at it. So first off, the destination, so you can see this is just an XML file. The destination is this AMF PHP, which corresponds to this guy here. So you could change either of those. And you'll probably, and this file you can download from this post here on polygeek.com. I use the same one over and over. And the only thing you might need to change is this AMF PHP right here. So this points to your gateway.php file. And if you moved it around or changed the name or something like that, so you can move this any place you want to, you'd have to point to it in this location right here. So services config is all set for us. Okay, so let's publish it again. And we get the same error. And the reason is that we have the services config file there, but we didn't tell the project to go looking for it. So let's come back down here to this project, and I'm going to go to properties so that you can't see. So I just went to the project properties. I'm going to go to the Flex compiler, and you can see services, and it's servicesconfig.xml. So I want to copy that, cancel, and come back up here and go to the properties on this project and just paste it in. I'm going to say apply, and it rebuilds the project. Now let's test it. So we shouldn't get any errors this time. And we get nothing, which is good. Okay, so now we should be getting back to onConnect, and so if I wanted to, I could put a breakpoint there and do a debug, AMF Connect. And it's going to stop on that. And I don't have variables viewable in this view, so of course not. Variables, that's what I want. So okay. And so here's E. We can browse through this. We get a result of Tron lives. So that's pretty cool. That's exactly what we wanted. And so I can just debug and stop. Okay. Obviously, I don't work in this perspective. So let's just come down here and make this a little bit easier to see. We're going to add let me give you some room here. Text area. ID of output. And I'm just going to come up here and say output text equals e.result. And that would actually give me a runtime error because e.result is, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's not a string. So I'm going to cast it as a string, save it, check the problems, we're all clear. So let's test this again. And voila, Tron lives. Oh, and if you're wondering how I'm publishing, I made Control-Enter a shortcut for publishing, so I don't have to go through all this mess up here. Alrighty, so let's expand on this just a little bit. Let's come back over here. Suppose we wanted to send data to the service and would manipulate it and do something, but we're just going to make this real simple. So I'm going to pass a variable, and that's message. So you always put a $sign there for some stupid ass reason. I'm going to just return that same value, $message. Okay, so I've saved that. Obviously, make sure you save your PHP changes, otherwise nothing is going to change in there. No, I've never made that mistake, wondering why my code wasn't working. And so here in the send, we're just going to change this to AMF PHP rocks. And save this, publish. And there we go. So we sent the string over and then returned it, but of course we could have done some really cool stuff with it on the PHP side. So that pretty much gets us up to using a service. The next step would be in that service calling SQL, or calling our MySQL database and returning some information. And that's what we're going to do in the next video tutorial.